Hey guys, my name is Ismail. Welcome to another time-lapse tutorial. In this video, we're going to look at how to create this chest game asset, and let's have a look at the textured. So this is how the chest looks, and you can see here how it looks. Yes, so let's dive into the time-lapse, and yeah. Yeah, so the first thing you need to do is find a few reference images so that you can have an idea of, so that you can have a reference of what you're trying to create. If you can't find any reference images, I would advise to make a sketch of what you're trying to create, so that you can always look back and see if you're getting the shape right. So what I'm doing here, I added a few loops, and the way you do that, you can use the shortcut Ctrl+R to add edge loops anywhere on your mesh. And yeah, so just trying to reshape and using the S key on the keyboard to scale the loops in and also scale them out. Yeah, just to get the general shape of what I'm trying to create, the general shape of the chest. And here I'm deleting parts of the mesh. Since this is going to have a symmetry, there is no need for me to model the other side. I can use the mirror modifier to help me model the other side. That way I can speed up the different the modeling part. What you saw me do there is I wanted to have a good edge flow around the edges there, so that I can extrude that. You will see what I mean in the next a few steps there. So here I'm just adding a few edge loops so that I can get sharp edges at the corner there. This is going to be a game. So this is why I made that cut there using the knife tool, just so that I can get that curved top there, and yeah, with a nice edge loop that goes around the chest. Yeah, so I also delete the other section so that I can make use of the symmetry of the object, so that I can only model one side and the other sides are modeled by the mirror modifier. And now I'm adding a few extra edge loops so that I can get the sharp edges of the mesh. So this is going to be the wooden part of the chest, and I'm just giving it some breadth or some weight to it. And yeah, so okay, now what I'm doing, I'm creating the metallic parts of the mesh of the chest. They're like guards or whatever. So what I did, the top part, what would be the cover, the wooden part of the cover, I just selected a loop and then duplicated it, and then made it into its own object, and thus from that I extruded the metallic part that you see me modeling right now. Now I'm adding the key area, the keyhole for the chest, and adding some extra edge loops for the details that will be around there. and I'm using the knife tool to cut out the edge loops for the keyhole. So to use the knife tool, you just hit K on your keyboard to access that, and yeah. Now I select one of the corner edge loops, and then I hit P on the keyboard to separate by selection, and from that I extrude the metallic part for those edges. This is why you need reference images, because if you start modeling, you want to concentrate mostly on the modeling part rather than trying to find out how instead of concentrating. When you start modeling, you want to concentrate mostly on the modeling part instead of the art or the design of what you're trying to do. So if you don't have any references, I would recommend to first sketch out what you're trying to create so that you get the style you're trying to go for, and then when you start to model, you don't have to worry about the art or the design of what you're trying to do, and this will speed up your modeling basically. And right now, so what I'm doing now is I'm deleting any extra faces that are not necessary, that will be hidden from the camera. Remember, this is going to be a game asset, so we don't want a lot of topology, a lot of polygons in that mesh. That's why you see me, I'm deleting any extra vertices, any extra polygons that are not necessary, and yeah. So you can see, and even deleting some of the edge loops that I had added there. You can see those won't be necessary as well. And now I'm pushing some of the faces so that they cover those faces that I had deleted, that space, all those gaps that the other faces were covering. So now I want to convert it because they were separate objects. Now I want to convert them into one single mesh that I can mirror using one mirror modifier, and I think this is what I'm going to do next. And yeah, so that's it. You see, this is without the mirror modifier, and still removing extra faces or extra polygons, and I think that's enough. So yeah. And now I'm starting on working on the UVs, unwrapping, because if you're going to do a texture painting, you also need to unwrap and have some UVs for your mesh, and this is what I'm doing right now. So I applied the mirror modifier because if I have the mirror modifier there, I won't have full UVs for my mesh. I will only have UVs for the mirror modifier for the part that doesn't have the mirror modifier. And if you're planning to use this in a game engine, different game engines or different applications use different modifiers, and you are never sure how the other application will handle the modifiers you have that you have not applied. So that's why it is safe before you export or before you share your model, or if you're planning to use your model in a different application, apply all the modifiers that are necessary to be that you want to be applied, and then also use unwrap the object after you apply the modifier, and that's what I did there. So now I'm trying to add seams. So seams are just basically a way to tell Blender where it should unwrap the mesh from. And then now I'm trying to think. Let me see what we're doing here. Just to get just to clean up the UVs a bit and minimize the stretching by adding a few extra seams here and there. Now I'm trying to maximize the UV islands, maximize the space around the UV islands, and by rotating and scaling some of them, and also giving them a bit of margin, so that when it comes to painting, I don't paint over the different islands. Okay, so now I'm adding a new texture that I'll be painting on, and filling it with a solid color for the wood. And I'm also selecting the faces, so you can turn on face select mode. That's the button, that's the checked button on the menu down to select the different faces, and then you can use the fill brush tool to fill it with a paint. With a paint you select with a brush tool, and so this is just a base color for the metal and a base color for the wood. And now I think I start painting. So if you can also hide parts of the mesh so that you can paint just one part while the other part is hidden, and that's what I'm doing right now. I think I will do a very in-depth tutorial about texture painting soon, but right now I just wanted to make this very quickly without taking a lot of time. That's why it's a time lapse. Yeah, here, so I forgot to save and I closed the application. If you don't save the image, the next time you open Blender, you will lose whatever texture painting you have done. So always make sure you save the image, not just the project, but you also save the image you're working on. Otherwise, Blender will not save the work you have done. Okay, so now I'm starting to paint in some ambient occlusion with some dark colors, just to fake ambient occlusion in the dark areas, in the corners of the mesh of the chest, and different areas where faces meet, where different parts of the chest meet. So I'm just doing a rough paint of what just to get a general texture of the mesh. So here I'm trying to work out a brush to use, a soft brush, and I think I get it here, and I start painting over the mesh. And now I'm starting to add some of the lines for the wood, and emphasizing those, I think, crisps. I don't know how they call them, but yeah, the different planks or wood, whatever they called, and Yeah, so I'm using, if you use multiply in the blending mode, you'll be darkening that area there. So and so if you use multiply, you'll be darkening the area, and if you use screen, you'll be lightening the area you're painting. So you will see me changing between these blending modes quite a lot. So yeah, but here I'm just drawing out the shape of just painting the shape of the wood, yeah. So you can see I'm also using both the UV image editor and the 3D view, because sometimes it's easier to use one than the other. And I can see I've changed to screen so that I can highlight some parts of that wood just to get that detail popping out. You see, I'm not taking a lot of time on one area just because I want to get that texture on every part of the mesh, so that, yeah, so I'm changing between different brushes just to see how they paint and experimenting. So in texture painting, you do a lot of experimenting, and you'll see that your skills improve as more and more when you practice, and it's always good to test out different settings to see what works best for you. You can see I'm always using the screen blending mode to highlight some of those areas, just to make that wood pop out a bit. And remember, if you hit F on your keyboard, you can increase the size of your brush, and if you use Shift F, you can increase or decrease the strength of your brush. So I think that was good enough for the wood. So now let's paint the metallic part, the metallic area, and I just want to make sure that I select the mesh that we want to paint, the metallic mesh, so that I only paint on that without painting on the wood. And so now I'm adding a few colors there, just to add in some hue variations, and yeah, so now I'm adding a few highlights just to make those edges a bit worn out. I'm not being too detailed here because I want to keep it simple, but also give it a few details here and there, and you can see I'm changing the strength and brush sizes just to get a variation in the strokes that I'm making. And so you can see at the top there I had added turned on symmetry so that it can help me paint the other side, but because I want to add in this crack, I turned off symmetry so that it's only appearing on one side, not both sides. And you can see I'm switching between the 3D view and the UV editor just to have a bit more control of what I'm painting. And yeah. So the metal was too bright for me, so I darkened it a bit so that the highlights and the worn out areas pop out a bit more. So to do that, I increased the brush size and changed the blending mode to multiply, and then painted over the entire mesh. And that's how I made it a bit more darker than what it was. So now I've changed the brush from paintbrush to this smear brush, just to soften out some of those brush strokes. And now I've turned back to the brush, to the draw brush, just to add in a few of those highlights. Okay, now I'm setting up the materials and the lighting just to get just to have a look at what the final thing would look. the principal shader. Yeah. So I also brightened up the texture a bit just to get those colors popping, and yeah. Yeah, and that's it. So if you found this useful, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, thank you. So if you want these models, they'll be available on my Patreon account and my CG Trader account. I'll be uploading them in a minute, so I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you.